One goddamn shot.
Wildcats dropped this game, their final game for the season, to the Ohio State Buckeyes. The final score was 70 Arizona and 73 Ohio State. University was ahead. The University of Arizona was ahead in the first half for quite a. Actually, they were ahead most of the game. In the first half, the score at halftime was, I think it was like a 4-point difference, or 38 to 34, I think. But then in the second half, then Ohio State Buckeyes, they came roaring back, and they scored. I don't know. I think they went on a, was it a 16-4 run or something like that. It was pretty crazy, but then the Arizona Wildcats got back into it and started playing a little bit better. I was kind of hoping that Solomon Hill, Kevin Parham, Mark Lyons, let's see, Quentin Crawford, Max Weepking. The starters, the senior starters, I was kind of hoping that they were going to have a big contribution to this game, and they did pretty good. Solomon Hill had 16 points. Mark Lyons had 23. He shot 6 for 12 from field goal percentage. That's not bad at all. 2 for 6 from three-point land. It's not too bad. I guess it's like 30%. I mean, 33% is the average, so that's a little bit. You would like a little bit better three-point shooting percentage, but Kevin Parham had 1 for 5 from three-point land. He had a heck of a time that last. He couldn't make his threes, and that was a killer. We it's kind of I think one thing that makes it hard is because Ohio State just played Iowa State about 4 or 5 days ago, and Iowa State had a chance at tying up the game and taking the game into overtime, but Ohio State, Kraft from Ohio State, he scored a three-pointer right in the final seconds, and Iowa State could not answer, and so Ohio State won that game by 3 points. And here we go again. We were tied up. Mark Lyons did a fantastic job. He did a nice drive, a dribble penetrate, and he got fouled, so he got a three-pointer. He went for 3 points and tied the game up at 70. There was a few seconds left, or not a few seconds left. There was probably like 25 seconds left, or I can't remember how many seconds left. But then Iowa State, we didn't have Kraft this time shoot the three-pointer, but Ohio State had Ross shoot the three-pointer, and he shot it way out there. I think it was a 25-footer from three-point land, and it went in, swoosh, and there was 2 seconds left. So it was like compounding the situation, because we had just the University of Arizona had just seen uh, Iowa State fall to Ohio State a few days ago on that same type of three-pointer in the last seconds. So it was a killer. Um, but the U of A, University of Arizona, came out strong in the first half. Uh, they were they were ahead of Ohio State most of the first half, which was phenomenal. But then, like I said, Ohio State came back in the second half. They kind of, regathered themselves. And I was wondering whether we should try and block out, try and block out Kraft and Thomas from Ohio State, and we did. We did a pretty good job. We did a decent job. If I figured if we blocked those guys out, then the rest of the Ohio State, they couldn't make enough points to to end up beating the University of Arizona. But Thomas, he's very good. He's money from all over the court. He's a very very good player, and in fact he played 40 minutes of the game. Uh, he shot 7 for 14 from field goal percentage, 3 for 6 from three-point land, um, and he ended up with 20 points. Um, he had 2 personal fouls. We were really hoping that we could get Kraft into foul trouble. Kraft ended up with 4 personal fouls because he tried to defend against Lions right there at the end, and I think he got called for that 4th foul. And Kraft from Ohio State is a very intelligent player, and he's a junior. So I don't know if he's going to get drafted this year. He might be playing. He might be coming back to Ohio State next year. I guess it all depends on what happens. But anyway, Kraft, I think he passed it off to Ross from Ohio State, and Ross knocked down a three-pointer. Ross ended up with 17 points. So, and he was 2 for 2 from three-point land. So, we kind of had to pick our poison. So it was a tough situation. We tried to. We didn't know who was going to do that. Try and take that last shot, last three-point attempt, and so Ross had an open three-pointer almost essentially in the end, and so he knocked down that three-pointer, and like I said, we had 2 seconds left, and we couldn't capitalize on it. We couldn't knock down. We couldn't get that. We couldn't get the ball in to go for a shot. So I thought that the biggest thing that was going to decide this game. I mean, I initially believed that Ohio State was going to win this game. I didn't. Right in the beginning, I didn't even have any doubt that the Arizona Wildcats were not going to be able to beat Ohio State because we had a very thin margin of error. The University of Arizona Wildcats had a very thin margin of error, and that was and they couldn't hold it strong because turnovers. We had the University of Arizona Wildcats at 11 turnovers, and against Ohio State, which had 8 turnovers for the whole game, you cannot have that happen. We cannot. The Arizona Wildcats cannot have that happen, and the Arizona Wildcats got 9 points off of turnovers, but the Ohio State Buckeyes got 14 points off of turnovers. I'm trying to see if there was anything else that was significant. We really had taken care of. We really had the answer for Ohio State in almost every category. It was, if we didn't win that category, we lost in that category of like assists or turnovers or steals or blocks. Um, but it wasn't very far. I mean, it was maybe Ohio State got one more, or they got one less of an assist or a steal or a block. It wasn't it was or rebounds, total rebounds. It wasn't very, like I said, there just was such a small margin of error. Then, I mean, look at it. I mean, the amount of free throws that we shot 18 for 20 free throws. We had 90% from free throw land, which is fantastic, you know. Uh, and they had 84. They shot 22 for 26 from free throws, so they had 84% from free throw land. Um, just the margin error was so close, but it was just the turnovers that I think that the turnovers were just they sealed our coffin. They closed our coffin. The University of Arizona Wildcats. Uh, any turnovers were just too many against Ohio State, especially when Ohio State was beating you uh, when they got um, whenever they had less turnovers than the Arizona Wildcats. They Ohio State had 8 turnovers and the Arizona Wildcats had 11 turnovers. But to kind of equalize that, the amount of steals, Ohio State had 4 steals, but the Arizona Wildcats had 6 steals. So that kind of balances it out a little bit. That's like 10 turnovers to 11 turnovers, kind of ratio. So not too bad. But it was just we our seniors didn't want to foul out. Uh, Nobody wanted to foul out because they wanted to be contributors in this game and they wanted to make an impact on this game. Uh, let's see, another one. Grant Jarrett knocked down a three-pointer, which was nice. And let's see. Yeah, it was just so many close things, so many close stats that it was really hard to tell what was going to end up deciding the game. But in the end, it was just Kraft and Thomas were just too much of an impact on this team, on this game, and they ended up Kraft and Thomas ended up winning this game for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Um, Thomas had 20 points, and Kraft had 13 points, and that's just that can't happen, you know. But it was the teams were very very close, very very closely matched, uh, but it just really could have gone either way, But the Ohio State Buckeyes win this game. The final score was 73 to the Arizona Wildcats 14. I think it was just those points off turnovers, 14 points off turnovers for Ohio State compared to, what was it, 9 points off turnovers for Arizona. That's a 5 point difference. Um, so Arizona could have won this game, but just wasn't meant to be right in those final seconds. So anyway, on to next season. We'll see what happens.